Hello, welcome to the MVC and MVVM patterns intro of C# programming. Starting with our system diagram, we're going to add a business logic class. Now we could make that business logic class responsible for its own input and output, as well as the logic of the class itself. But all this really does is confuse the issue because it puts code associated with input and output with business logic, and those are separate things. And it fixes that business logic to a particular input-output architecture, and we don't want that. We want more flexibility. So what we're going to do is we're going to split that set of responsibilities apart, creating three distinct areas of code. These areas are known as the model, which is the business class itself, the view, which is the code that actually displays, provides a path for input and output to the code, and the controller, which is a sort of intermediary class that goes between the business logic and the view to either decide what's going to be displayed or possibly do some manipulation to that data so it's displayed in a particular way, or a particular aspect of the data is being displayed. Now, of course, the view part, in our case, is simply the WPF application itself. And we've seen the sort of things that go into the model class before. So let's focus on the controller for a moment. In fact, let's take a look at one of our earlier examples. Here's the Coinbox merger program that we looked at before. So we'll take a closer look at this code. So starting with the view part of this triad, here's the code behind for the WPF application. And we see that it creates an object of something called Coinbox merger. And it calls the merge method associated with that Coinbox merger object. So the code you see here, being the view part of the code, is connected to the controller part of the code, in this case something called Coinbox merger. So looking at that, we see that Coinbox merger creates three coin boxes and manipulates the data in those coin boxes. So we could say that this controls the business logic class, and in this case the business logic class or the model is Coinbox. So Coinbox is the model, Coinbox merger is the controller, and the WPF application is the view. Going back to our diagram, what would happen if our intermediate class, our controller, rather than manipulating the data that came out of the model object in any way, simply passed that information to the view in a sort of transparent way? Well, then instead of having a model view controller, we would have a model view view model pattern. So let's look at an example of that. We'll take a look at the pick a place application and the place source class. So the place source class is our business logic or our model. And as you can see, it just contains some strings and a way to select a particular one of those strings. There's a couple of other pieces of plumbing code which we will talk about when we talk about binding. So for now, that's all place source is, a way to generate some strings. So our place view model simply passes that information along in the form of an auto-implemented property. So this is the place where auto-implemented properties really make sense. All I want to do is to create an object and pass it along. So because this example is so simple, it might seem like you might as well just create the object in the view, since the view model is doing so little with it. But you have to remember that this is a very simple example, and in practice, we're probably going to have more than one class or more than one object inside of our view model. So for now, it's just a matter of creating a structure. So then we go to our view, and as you can see, we are creating a place view model object in the view and making use of it in our view code. And again, as you can see in this case, the view model is not actually processing anything. It's simply passing the value of current place, which is a property in the model, straight through to the view. Now, as part of both the MVC and MVVM patterns, there's a fair amount of plumbing going on. And this is because it's a publish and subscribe structure. So either the model code or the controller or the view model code are responsible for publishing changes in the data in such a way that the view part of the structure can be properly updated. And conversely, the view is responsible for subscribing for any changes in the data of the model or of the view model, or of the controller. So it's a publish and subscribe paradigm. And one of the nice things about WPF is it supports both of those patterns. In other words, it contains the plumbing, the publish and subscribe mechanisms. As we write our code using the Windows presentation framework, we basically get for free a lot of the details of implementing either one of these patterns. Later, when we talk about binding in WPF, we'll see how we hook in to the framework and take advantage of that supplied publish and subscribe mechanism. And that's the MVC and MVVM patterns intro of C# programming. Thanks for watching.